Hello everyone, this is CA Rekha Karthik. Warm welcome to you all. Today we are going to discuss about cloud computing. As we all know that today technology is changing very fast, and to cope up in today's world, one has to be updated with all the latest technology. Only then we can survive in today's digital era. So today we are going to discuss on one such technology, that is cloud computing. So this is the table of content which we are going to discuss today. Today we will discuss about what is cloud computing, need for cloud computing, types of cloud computing and its delivery mechanisms, benefits of cloud computing and challenges thereby. Taxation point of view, we will discuss briefly about the direct and indirect taxation of cloud computing, and of course the opportunities for chartered accountants in cloud computing. So let's first understand what is cloud computing. So cloud computing, it uses both hardware and software to deliver a service over a network, that is internet. So cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So, instead of buying, owning, and having your own data center or server, one can use the technology of cloud services and get the benefits such as computing power, storage, and database, everything on as needed basis from the cloud provider. So, a simple example of cloud services will be Gmail, Yahoo Mail, etc., which we use in our day-to-day life. So, you don't need a software or server to use them. So, all that a consumer needs is only to have an internet connection, which can be used either in desktop, laptop, or even in mobile phone, and thereby the user can get access and avail benefits of all the cloud services. So we can understand that basically cloud services works on resource pooling characteristics. That is the main functioning and main characteristics of cloud computing. Now let's understand the need for cloud computing. So the current COVID-19 scenario has put forward many questions regarding our preparedness on IT capabilities and IT infrastructures, and above all our mentalities on how to deal with such peculiar and uncertain scenarios. So today businesses are facing difficulties on providing their services and the compliance issues. So there is one thing this situation has taught us is that there is an urgent need for every one of us to transfer from the traditional method of working to the software as a service cloud-based model. Only then we can run our business smoothly and seamlessly. So this scenario has opened up a huge market for the cloud service providers and the application managers. Needless to say, this has also paved way for many chartered accountants. Now, chartered accountants can render the services in this new area, that is cloud computing. We will discuss about the opportunities for chartered accountants later on in this discussion. Now, let's understand the types of cloud. So, there are 4 types of clouds: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. So when we talk about public cloud, it means that the whole computing infrastructure is located in the premises of cloud computing company that offers the cloud services. So it means that the user does not have any physical access to infrastructure, and they don't know where their data has been stored. So user does not have any access to the physical infrastructure of the database. So the physical, as the public cloud uses shared resources, they do excel in performance, but they are vulnerable to various attacks also. Next is private cloud. So when we talk about private cloud, it offers the same benefit as that of public cloud, but they uses dedicated private hardware. That means that the private cloud is used exclusively only for a single organization or an enterprise, and it is not shared with any other organizations. Yet they are remotely located. The companies do have an option to get the get the infrastructure at their own premises also, but that is very expensive and it is not economical for the small organizations. But yes, the big organizations can do avail this benefit and have the infrastructure at their own premises and have the data security and data safety as their priority. Next is hybrid cloud. So as the name suggests, it is the combination of both public cloud and private cloud. So it helps, they are designed to allow the platform to interact seamlessly. So they provide the advantages of both public cloud. That is, the advantage of public cloud, we can have the scalability and computing power as that of public cloud, and security and control as that of a private cloud also. Next is community cloud. So community cloud implies an infrastructure that is shared between organization, usually with the shared data and data management concerns. So, basically community cloud is shared among a large section of society. It may be a city, state, or even a country as a whole. And even the community clouds can be located both on and off premises. So, with this, now let's understand the delivery mechanisms of cloud computing. So, there are three delivery mechanisms, that is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So, let's understand each one by one. So, infrastructure as a service, it means that instead of having to purchase the hardware outright, user can purchase infrastructure as a service based on consumption. It is similar to how we use or how we pay for electricity or any other utility billing. So we have to pay only based on the consumption, and the users are given the access to vital web architecture, and such as computing power, servers, storage space, and so on. And business do not have to purchase or manage this infrastructure themselves, and that's why that is very economical for the users as well. Next is platform as a service. So similar to the way how we use macros in the Excel, the platform as a service allows the users to create application using the software that is inbuilt into the PaaS. So it provides a platform allowing the customers to develop, run, and manage the applications without the complexity of having building and maintaining the infrastructure. And it is very economical for the users, and it is very beneficial for both the service provider as well as the service receiver. Next is software as a service. So this is it represents the largest cloud market, and yes, it is growing very fast, and it is very useful as of now. So software as a service uses the web to deliver application that are managed by a third party vendor, and whose interface is accessed on the client side. So it means that the third party vendor has all the application coding and all the database with them, and the user can use the software and customize it as per their own requirement. The examples will be like MS Office 365, productivity, and email services. So now let's understand the benefits of cloud computing. So there are many benefits of cloud computing. We are going to discuss few among them. So financial informations, yes. Now the clients are allowed to access to their financial information and data from anywhere, from any device, and they can send to any location in a very, very speedy manner. So this helps the business to take right decisions at right time. And the leverage benefit, yes, of course, because the due to the deployment of cloud services, the large amount is saved by the organization in the initial investment for the acquisition of IT related infrastructure and its associated expenditure. So the business enjoys the leverage benefit as well. Next is payment option. So yeah, as per the convenience of the user, the consumer can opt for either monthly billing scheme or usage billing scheme. So unlike, suppose if the organization build their own infrastructure, then they have to pay everything upfront for the for building the infrastructure, hardware, software purchase, and also the server purchase. So everything they have to pay upfront, and that will lead to cash constraints as well. So now with this cloud computing technology, there is an improvement in cash flow for the organizations because they do not have to pay anything upfront. Next is expenditures. So yes, of course, it reduces the capital as well as the operating expenditures of the organization. So as it was already discussed, that the organization, they do not have to spend on the infrastructure and associated expenditure. So there is a great reduction in the capital expenditure. And also, since organization don't have their own IT capabilities and IT personas, so there is a reduction in the operating expenditure. That is the salaries to the employees is also saved to a greater extent. Next is security. So security is the greatest concern, and even whether it is a small organization or big organization, everyone wants their data to be safe and secure. So here the cloud service providers provide virus and firewall protection to prevent hackers and intruders. So even the data are encrypted, which are unreadable without the encryption key. So this gives the greatest advantage of security to the users. Next is proper backups. So yes, this again is a major issue. So a major benefit. So the backup has been taken regularly by the third-party vendor, and it is stored offsite the server, and it has been kept very safely. So now the user can assure that there is a that data has been backed up properly and it is stored in a proper location. And also the third-party vendor charges a fees based on the capacity, bandwidth, and number of users of the organization. Now let's discuss some challenges also. So unlike conventional service providers, vendor of cloud services, they provide, they do not cater their services to single organization. They provide their services to hundreds and thousands of organizations with a single IT infrastructure. So definitely there is a security concern and a privacy issue also. So before getting the services of cloud computing, the organization has to make sure that the security is not compromised, and any negligence from the cloud service provider can affect the data sensitivity and it can be a major loss for the organization as well. So data security and privacy will always be a concern for all the organizations. Next is vendor failure. So at times there may be a server issues, server downtime may be there, and this may lead to delay in information delivery. So organization will not be able to deliver the information on a timely basis. Vendor lock-in. So supposing if a user want to migrate from one cloud service provider to another cloud service provider, then in that case he may have some issues of configuration complexity, supporting issues, and they have to pay additional charges also, and limited control. So as we all know that the infrastructure is with the cloud service provider, so they have to the organization does not have any control over the infrastructure and the data. So there is a very limited control, and this is a greatest concern for the organization. Now let's discuss briefly about the taxation of cloud services. First, we will discuss about indirect taxation, that is GST. So for understanding the GST, we have to first learn the concept of OIDAR. It means that online information and database access or retrieval services. And for this, two conditions have to be met. That is, delivery is mediated through internet, and supply is essentially automated, involving minimum human intervention and impossible without information technology. So if both of these conditions are satisfied, then the service will be falling under the purview of OIDAR and hence liable for GST. So a few examples of OIDAR services are advertising on internet, providing cloud services, provision of ebook, movie, music, etc., providing data or information retrievable or otherwise to any person in electronic form through a computer network, and online gaming streams, so on, etc. So the current rate of GST on most of the digital products falls under the category of 18%. However, the manner of levy of GST would depend on the whether the supplier and recipient both are resident in India or outside India. So let's check it out. So suppose if the supplier of service and recipient of service both are in India, then it is taxable in India. Suppose if the supplier of service is in India and recipient is outside India, then it will not be taxable in India because it will amount to export of services. Third case, suppose if the supplier of service is outside India and receiver is also outside India, then definitely it will not be covered under GST. Next is, suppose if the supplier of service is outside India and receiver of service in India, whether they are registered or not registered, they will be covered under GST under reverse charge mechanism. So now let's discuss about the direct taxation also. So as we all know that Section 4 is the charging section under the Income Tax Act, and the scope of total income concerned assessee is resident or non-resident. So place of accrual plays an important role, especially for the non-resident taxation, since a non-resident is liable to pay tax only on the income if it accrues or arises in India. And Section 9, subsection 1, clause 1 says that service provider do not carry out any business activity in India if there is no business connections. And cloud service provider, they do not have any offices. They only have IT infrastructure and servers. There too, it is located outside India. So we cannot we cannot assure, or we cannot ensure that their offices are located in India and the income is deemed to accrue or arise in India. So in such case, it cannot be it cannot be said that income accrues or arise in India. So cloud transaction, they only transfer the copyright or intangible property, and that too it ceases when the contract comes to an end. So in this case, it will be treated as rental income or royalty income. So now let's discuss about royalty income also. So, Section 9, subsection 1, clause 6 deals with the taxability of royalty. So, it says that royalty payable by a person resident in India would deem to accrue or arise in India, except that the royalty is payable in respect of any right, property, or information which is used by any person for the business or profession carrying out outside the India. So, in that case, suppose if a payment made for cloud computing services is regarded in the nature of royalty, then definitely it will be covered under Section 9(1) subclause 6 of the Act, and hence it would accrue and arise in India. So now let's quickly see the opportunities for chartered accountants in cloud computing. So cloud computing brings a lots of opportunities for chartered accountants. However, a CA should be armed and have commendable grip over the information system to undertake such assignments. So the few areas under which the CA can render services are CA can render service on cost benefit analyzer, whether to implement the cloud computing in the organization or not, interpretation of taxation or tax implication, that is direct tax, indirect tax, also involving international tax laws, and then conducting a system audit of cloud service providers. CA can also render management consultancy services, that is, they can train the employees regarding the operation of the systems under the cloud-based system, and also the process of conversion from traditional computing system to the cloud-based system. So these are the few opportunities for the chartered accountants in the area of cloud computing. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you like this video, then please do like and share this and subscribe to our YouTube channel, CA Sansar. Thank you so much.